as we always say on our podcast, and don't forget
to like the first.
To like, to subscribe, and to hit that bell button. So whatever. So you would find out whenever we post. The guys post a new show.
You nailed it. Be positive is not only a slogan, it's also Chuck Lorre's newest sitcom.
Be positive is a positive look at being someone with kidney disease.
Well, Be Positive is definitely a very unique story for the television.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First podcast, the podcast in which we watch the first episode of a series so that you don't have to. You can, but you don't have to.
Why watch a 20-minute show when you can just listen to us talk about it for
25
or
minutes.
60 minutes?
With us, as always, co-CEO, chairman, executive producer, superstar Michael Kenyon Rosenberg.
All right, I'll take all those.
Yeah. We are joined by very special guest, actress and podcaster, Sasha Kerbel.
Hello, hello.
I want to learn how to do that. My name's Ryan T. Haas. Today, we are reviewing Be Positive, a Chuck Lorre production. Episode 1 is called, creatively speaking, Pilot. So to start off the show, what we like to do, Mike's looking at me suspiciously like, let's see if he gets this order right, because we have all this order and I get it wrong every time. No, the first thing we like to do now is we like to predict, make a quick prediction. Mike and I have known each other for many years. Some would say 25 years. Some would say, give or take, 25 years.
Some would say too many.
Yeah. And so we want to predict what the other person thought of it. My guess, Michael, is that you liked it moderately. You weren't jumping over the moon about it, but you enjoyed it. It held a special place in your heart for a secret reason that will be less secret in a moment. What do you think?
I think that you did not like it. I think that you thought that the jokes were dumb, and that you didn't want to say that though right off the bat because of other secret reasons that will be revealed.
Now, just for I get it. Now, just for fun, I'm going to predict that Sasha liked it.
Yes, and you're correct.
Yay!
I loved it.
All right, thank you, everybody. Good night. Mike, do you want to make a prediction on Sasha? Or
I already spoiled the
I think she kind of liked it. I think, yeah, maybe.
Sasha, do you want to guess if we liked it, or do you want to pass?
No, I will never pass on the opportunity to predict something.
Nice.
Okay,
very good.
So as for you, Ryan, you know, you probably been there, seen it all, so it didn't impress you too much. And you, Michael, probably will notice some certain actors' works there and say, yeah, that's a good work by this particular actor.
Sounds like she's done her homework on us. Okay. Well, Michael, do you want to tell us what this show is about?
I certainly do.
Nice.
Certainly. I forget. I don't know. What did I say?
You're wearing a shirt.
Be positive. A man in need of a kidney and the organ donor he meets by chance develop an unlikely bond. In this episode, Drew, a recently divorced father, discovers he needs a kidney and finds his donor in the last person he would have ever imagined. The end.
Now we like to jump into this by comparing and contrasting what we expected before the show and what we got. Michael, what did you expect before watching the first second of this show?
So I guess I can reveal the big secret now. I mean, it's not that big of a secret to many of people who have been watching us very intently. But I do have kidney disease, and I've been on dialysis for the last 5 years. And so I had heard a lot about this show I had heard that the show was coming out through the kidney community on the online kidney communities and Facebook and stuff like that I'm a part of. And so what I expected was a cheesy 3-camera sitcom.
Well, Sasha, what did you expect before you watched the show? And what did you expect before Michael just dropped that big news on you?
Yeah, well, actually, I expected that I will be the biggest expert in that because I had a friend of a friend who was on dialysis, and sometimes 2 times I drove him there. He had to spend, I think, every other night there in that clinic, and he just treated it as his either second home or his job. He kind of like, oh, whatever, I go there. And so it was interesting to me to watch, to see how they will play this story. But also, yeah, I thought a little bit less of the show before I started watching it, because for some reason, yeah, I thought that, it will be probably, something just like Michael, just like you said. And I
nobody wants to watch something just like Michael.
Yeah, like
I hope that's not true.
No, like expertise on that, or maybe the angle will. I kind of knew what it is about, but I didn't read the synopsis. I just knew about the show before. And so I didn't know that what you just read, this story, but I knew that it's about that. And I thought that, well, probably will be something like really cheap. I'm wondering what angle they will choose. But then...
Oh, wait. And then
Ryan,
well, I'll tell you what I expected. Well, first, I do also want to say that, like Sasha, I have a friend of a friend that's also on dialysis named Michael.
Who's the friend that we're friends with?
I don't know, Darth. All of our friends.
Yeah.
All of our friends.
Oh, wait a minute. Now
Darnell, I don't know.
Friend of a friend for me.
Yeah.
That's another friend of a friend now.
I think we can just all be friends. Like, I don't understand what the big deal is.
Why can't we be friends?
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what I expected. I don't read the synapse. Wait, synopsis. My synapse just fired right there.
Synapses, yeah. I don't read my own synapses.
But I didn't read the plot. I didn't read anything. I didn't know anything about it except for what Michael told me. This was recommended by Michael, actually. So I expected it to be. I knew it was a comedy. I knew it was about kidney disease. That's it. That's all I knew. That's all I expected. But what did you get, Michael?
So I expected a cheesy 3-camera sitcom. What I got was a terrible 3-camera sitcom. I think that for me, like, obviously I've got kidney disease. There was like a lot of inconsistencies that I noticed in the show, which we could talk about later. But I wasn't so much offended by that they were making fun of kidney disease as I was just by the bad jokes. I was offended by the terrible sitcom jokes that they had.
Well, Sasha, what did you get?
Now I probably should leave.
No.
Give it like 45 minutes.
Okay, I actually enjoyed it because I expected something worse than I saw. And I thought, what I mostly pay attention to, it's the characters themselves. And this, like this typical, groups of people, like the woman, I'm so bad with names, like the people in the dialysis room, including the nurse and this other people and how they look at him when they find out, and himself, Drew, the main character, and her name is Gina, right? The donor. Yeah. And Gina, and sort of, I kind of just was enjoying the characters and their interaction. I was just a little bit like, I was thinking, because it's just one episode, right? So far. Because I was trying to cheat and watch the second one, but there was no second one.
I think they came out with 3 episodes so far.
Yeah, I saw 2.
Oh,
maybe there's a third
I didn't
one.
find the second one. I don't know why. Maybe it's just they kicked me out to watch another show.
Maybe the first one was just called Pilot, and that's where the 2 of them meet. The second one, which I have not yet watched, is when he goes and starts dialysis. So I'm hoping you watched the right one, because if you saw him in dialysis, you might have watched the second episode.
Oh, then I watched the second episode. But I gotta tell you, I know exactly what's happening with the first episode. I thought that was the pilot. I was like, why are you saying that they're just met? They already met. I know that.
Well, this is definitely going to be a first for us. This is going to be good stuff. Michael and I have watched the first episode. You've watched the second episode. Let's see what happens.
Happening.
I'll tell you.
The first guest.
Let me tell you what I got. Oh, drinking time. Sorry. I'm late on that.
Yep.
Ryan.
What are you drinking?
Perrier.
Lime flavored.
Because it's green and you can't see it because of the green screen.
Right. It's completely transparent.
Well, I'll tell you what I got. I expected a sitcom about kidney failure. That is what I got. Yeah, that's what I got. It wasn't good, though.
Well, then I mean,
it was charming in a way that I wasn't offended or annoyed or bored with it. You know, there was nothing that turned me off about it. There was just, objectively speaking, it just, wasn't good. We can talk about a little more, but I couldn't help but think about all of these improvements they could have made to make it a better show. I wasn't like, this show has no chance, page one rewrite, garbage. I was just like, ooh, they should have done this, they should have done that, they should have done this. But that's just my opinion. So that's what we expected and what we got. What fun. What we expected was everybody to watch the first episode of a
I typed it in and it gave me this. So I clicked play and I watched that.
No, I know why. CBS All Access actually had episode 2 first. I noticed that too.
That's how they get you.
That's why they tricked you on that. I don't know why they would do that.
But
they did.
I have, let's just say I'm familiar with the story on the pilot then, because I thought there were rewrites in the script, and that
makes me think that maybe the second episode is better than the first one.
There you go. Probably you should watch the second one.
I'm probably gonna watch this.
What, Michael? Okay, let's just start this part on. Here we go. So that's what we expected, everybody.
That's what we got.
Yeah, that's what we got. So first things first. Right when it starts off, I'm like, okay, it opens on a dude waiting in an office for his doctor. And then my next line of notes, I go, oh, fuck, there's a laugh track or whatever. I'm like, oh, man, it's one of these things where the guy just like goes, oh, I need a pen. They go, ha, 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 ha. And I'm like, oh, man, it's one of these things that like try to like condition you to like, this is when we laugh. This is the funny part. You can tell because everybody's laughing. I don't know if that laughter works for me anymore. I know it's kind of like less popular now. What do you guys think of that? You still okay with the laughter, the laugh track, or the studio audience, or whatever?
I'll say this: I've watched one other Chuck Lorre show. I like. It's not my favorite show, but my wife likes it. It's called Mom. That's a Chuck Lorre show, and it's grown on me a little bit. It's got Anna Faris, and actually the lady that plays his ex-wife is in it, and she plays a real beezy in this one too. So
she's always got a lot of things to do. Yeah,
she's a busy beezy. I don't hate Mom. It definitely it was hard for me to get into the show Mom, Brian. It was hard for me to get into the show, just mostly probably because of the laugh track.
But you're still trying really hard to get into Mom.
I was trying to, yeah. Well, my wife is a mom, and that's why she likes the show so much, I guess, and that's why I'm trying to get into her. So, for this show, first of all, the jokes that they were making we're not that funny. So I think I chuckled twice throughout. I wrote it down in my notes, the two parts that I went, huh.
So he's not going to be called Chuckle Laurie, huh?
No, not for me. It's just, I think that the 3-camera sitcom is dead to me. It's like, go for single camera, because that's what The Office, Parks and Rec, and Modern Family, that's what people are doing now, is the single camera, and that's the future of comedy. Like 3-camera is dead, in my opinion, and especially live studio audiences with their dead laughter is not funny to me.
What about you, Sasha? Do you still like the sitcom feel?
You know, it depends, I think, but overall, yeah, kind of this laugh track is more for, you know, mocking the laugh track. Like, for instance, in the podcast, for instance, I will say, you look great today, so you should now use like laugh track, or you look terrible today. And you go, why am I talking about the looks? Or I am looking terrible today. And then there is a laugh track or something. And then I kind of accept that, but only as kind of mocking of the idea, because yeah, I don't want to be told when to laugh and what to laugh at. And I'm a very positive audience member. I'm starting watching things being ready to love it. I never wanted not to like it. I never am skeptical or anything. I'm trying to, even if I know like, maybe it's not what not something that I will like, I will still be very open to that. But then, so I don't get annoyed fast with such things, but it's like, throws me off a little bit. I'm like, if I want to laugh, I will laugh. Like, and there are a lot of moments when you don't expect that you will find it funny, and then you do. And so, yeah, I think it's a little bit of a yesterday, and it's like a little bit, distracting from the story itself, probably. And maybe it gives a room for like a weaker jokes for the writers, because we can always pick it up with this sound effect.
Mm-hmm.
So I would prefer not to have that.
Brian hates it.
Yeah, I didn't know that I hated it until that came in. I was like, ugh, what is this, the freaking 80s? But I think Chuck Lorre does that show with Michael Douglas and Alan Arkin.
Oh, does he? The Kaminsky Method?
If so, I think that one's really good. And that one is single camera.
Right, that one's single camera.
Right, so that's a saving grace for him there, because that one is gold. Yeah, I will say that one of the first things I was thinking is like, look, make it a single camera and go darker. Make it a darker comedy, or make it the 3-camera nonsense that you're doing, and give us more complexities in the story, more things for people to react to. And it was just kind of like, the whole problem I thought was that, the whole shit or get off the pot kind of thing. Like, either if you're going to do the sitcom 3-camera thing, fine, but then you need to give us more complexities, more complications, more moments. You know what I mean? Like, where they get into more of a mess, and it's more complex. Or you got to go into the single camera thing and make it a little bit more of a dark comedy, because they had plenty of dark humor,
right?
But they just kind of tickled it. They just touch it. Like, the dude is talking about death and about cutting himself. The girl's talking about drugs constantly that were kind of funny, funny delivery. The one dude that's going to snort coke off the mirror is like, hey, that's my breakfast, which was funny. But like, for example, Sasha, there's a moment where he goes over to the girl's house and he says, hey, what's going on or whatever. And he grabs this mirror and he goes, and the cloud of dust goes off, and then the stoner that she's with goes, hey, that was my breakfast, right? That's a pretty funny joke. It's okay. But, well,
realistic.
If they really went for it all the way, it would have been a lot funnier. Like, if rather than going, hey, that's my breakfast, if he's like, hey, that's my breakfast. And then he dives on the ground and starts going like this, right? Doing that kind of stuff. And then he grabs the mirror and starts like licking it, and you see him. So while he's talking to the girl, you see him in the background, like licking and doing, then like you're going for it all the way. But with the whole sitcom 3-camera thing, you can't really go that far into it. So it's kind of like, well, either use the joke or don't, but it doesn't really work if it's, I don't know. It was okay, but they really didn't hit that joke out of the park for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I don't think they hit any jokes out of the park. The 2 parts that I laughed at were when they're at the wedding, and then the girl Gina, she says,
"Damn, Gina!"
She says, "Something about you seems a little deathy." And that point, I was like, "Huh." And then with the part when, I think it was when she was, maybe it was when she was in the bus driving around the old people, and she was telling him, "I will be in you." Or no, I guess think this is still at the wedding too. And she's like, "I will be in you," and I was like, "Huh." But those are the only 2 guffaws that got out of me. I think that obviously I was like watching, like right off the bat, it kind of threw me because like he's like seeing his doctor and he's like, "Whoa, so you peeing yet?" And I'm like, first of all, if you can't pee, your doctor's not going to go like, "Oh, let me take some tests and come back in a week." Like, dude, you can't pee. Go to the emergency room. What are you doing? And your doctor's not going to tell you, "Oh, here, let's take some blood tests, and I'll get back." No, your doctor's going to say, "Go to the emergency room. You're not peeing. Go. That's bad. You need to be able to pee." And he's like, he's drinking more water too. Like, if you can't pee, why are you drinking more water?
Is that a thing where people can't pee sometimes?
Yeah. When your kidneys fail 100%, you can't pee. You don't pee.
Sounds terrible.
All your fluid is taken out through dialysis. Thankfully, I'm not there. Thankfully, I still have some residual kidney function. My kidney function is about 14%. Most normal people, it's about 90%. In the high 90s, maybe somewhere in the 90s. But my kidney function is about 14%. And so I still can pee a little bit, but definitely not as much as I used to. I'm not chipping any urinals, as Ryan would say. And then like when he's talking about like
chipping a urinal is like if you have so much pee pressure that if you're, anyway.
You chip the urinal gets chipped. The urinal is for men use urinals to pee in. We don't have to sit down to go pee, so we're lucky there at least.
Yeah. But by the way, can you explain me something?
Sure.
With these urinals, what's fun is this?
I thought it was gonna be about kidney disease. I was like, oh, good. Let's.
But I was like, all right, okay, this one Ryan can handle this one then.
Okay, let's hear the urinal.
Yeah, we will go back to the kidney disease. But first, I need to know, like, who invented these urinals for guys? Is it like some sort of a special fun? First of all,
it was Estelle Getty.
And like, right, and look at each other, kind of. What's the fun of that? Or like, do guys feel uncomfortable? I would definitely feel uncomfortable with that if I had to pee in front of everybody.
Right.
Well, I'm not a very social peer. Like I'll walk the extra 2 or 3 feet to not be at a urinal next to somebody. I don't want their foot touching me or their splatter.
Oh, the splatter.
Yes.
Yeah. Splashback.
Yeah, I just don't. And plus, I just don't want to invite the person to think like, oh, hey, let's be friends for 25 seconds. Like I'm just, I just want to be left alone with my thought, as Homer Simpson once said. So it's definitely not a social thing. Although there is that funny joke about there's a guy at the one urinal at the end of the entire bathroom, and the entire bathroom is empty. And a guy walks past all of the urinals and parks himself right next to him, and he goes, "I'm vegan." And that's just funny because vegans love to tell, that's the joke.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was a funny. But anyway,
joke, all right.
To answer your question, like, urinals were created for speed and efficiency, and so that they could cram 40 of those things in one stall.
That's why
they're
men's
way
room
too
never
close.
have a wait. Like you see women like queued up waiting to
Yep.
use the 2 or 3 stalls or whatever, and then men just kind of fly in and out because they just do their business and run.
Yeah.
Sometimes they just pee on the floor. I mean, I don't do that, but some
Yeah.
people
Or
do.
on a leg, on a random leg nearby.
Oh my God.
That's men. That's men for you.
Yeah.
Well, as for that on the floor, it's not only in men's restrooms. Let's
God, women are so gross.
Can you believe that?
No, this place I used to work
water.
at.
Maybe we're just, washing our hands and then do this. And then
This place I used to work, it was mostly women, and they had to have meetings sometimes about how gross the women's restrooms were. Like, I was like, geez, I thought women were always the cleaner ones, and nope.
Oh, the janitor, I used to work on a radio station, and I remember the lady, the janitor, I didn't want to hear that, but she fed me every day with those restroom stories, like, so I cleaned up today, and I gotta tell you, and she like naming the names, who doesn't wash their hands after, or who left, like, whatever they left or
Ew.
something. So I knew everything about my colleagues without even needing to know that. I was like, please. But she was like 80 years old, and she loved to talk about that. She loved her job.
Why are we being so negative, huh?
Yeah,
in this
be
podcast
positive.
so far.
Well, I think that we can close the door on the urinal talk and bathroom talk by saying that
Wash our hands.
women's bathrooms are messier and dudes' bathrooms are stinkier. Let's just say that. Let's just go. Let's put it away. Put it to bed there.
Okay.
I think we can all agree on that one.
It's just a guess. But let me say this. Another improvement that I thought it could have was towards the end, when he said, oh, can you help me with the kidney or whatever? And she says, you can have mine. I don't really remember. My thought was, oh, I get it. He's going to invite her into his house to live with him so that he can watch over her, make sure she doesn't do all those drugs. He can feed her good food. And that is a setup for a very standard sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out that they didn't do that. And I was like, that's
not yet, at least.
Right. But that's kind of a standard trope for a reason, is because you need to create that mix up. And that's not something that's supposed to be in episode 2 or episode 5. I mean, like, nowadays, I mean, back in the day where it was like the 80s or 90s, you just put that on after Friends and people will watch it, and you can do that on episode 7 or episode 30 and no big deal. But right now, if it's not in that pilot, I mean, here was my thinking was, rather than them having this little squabble, and then the bus driving thing with the squirt, they don't need that. They could have just said, hey, why don't you move in? And she's like, oh, I don't know. And he convinced her. He says, hey, it's just for a few months to get you cleaned up. I'll pay for all the food. I'll cook you great meals. I'm cooking for my kidney. That's his motivation. He's like, I'm trying to make my kidney healthy. Cool. So he finally convinces her. She moves in. We all know that it's obviously going to lead to some kind of romance at some point, right? She moves in, and in the final scene, she's walking in. She's got her bags, and the ex-wife shows up and is like, who's this? And he wants to say, oh, whatever. But then the daughter comes because he's going to pick her up, and he doesn't want to worry the daughter that he's dying. So he has to lie. And he says, this is my girlfriend. Here we are, honey. This is my new girlfriend. And they say, what is she? And she's like, oh yeah, I'm moving in or whatever. And now the ex-wife is like, I've never heard of this. This is ridiculous. The daughter now hates him more because her betrayed mom feels even more betrayed. And now they have to keep up this secret charade that they're dating and they're living together. And suddenly it becomes, there's so much more that can happen with it. And they have to sleep in the same room when the daughter's there. Otherwise she knows that they're lying, when she's gone, whatever. And so to me, I felt like that just sets up so much more in the way of like complexities and situational comedy. That's the situation, but
missed opportunity. So I mean,
completely.
obviously the biggest problem that I see is that they should have hired somebody with kidney disease to consult.
I thought you were going to say hire somebody to write it.
That was my question to you, Michael, actually. Do you feel, that was my question to you. Like, do you...
They should have hired me. Yeah, I feel mad that they didn't hire me because I could have consulted and written, and I would have made the show way better because, like, it's like, not only that, it's like he's like, oh, I'm going to die if I don't have somebody to give me a kidney. False. Go on dialysis. People stay on dialysis for 20, 30 years sometimes. Before they get a kidney. He must be in LA because they told him 10 years to get a kidney. That's what they told me when I was down in LA. Supposedly it's a lot shorter up here, although I've already been on dialysis 5 years and I still haven't gotten a kidney. But he's making this big deal like if he doesn't get a kidney from her, he's going to die. So it's stupid because before they will even work up a living kidney candidate, they put you on the deceased kidney waiting list. Mm. And they have to do all sorts of testing to work you up for that deceased kidney waiting list. And so it's just, there's all these different things that's just, it's wrong. The show is wrong. It's just, it doesn't make sense. But like I said, even that doesn't offend me. They're bad jokes. It's just that, I mean, I guess their kidney jokes don't offend me, or the inaccuracies don't offend me. What offends me is that the jokes are so terrible.
Well, from what I watched, no spoilers here, but some, actually the episode that Ryan just presented, I, let's say, watched with a lot of excitement. I like that show that you just described.
I was getting excited when I thought about it.
Right, but some of what you've mentioned will start happening in the next episode.
Spoilers.
I never said what exactly.
Right. Well, I've always thought that. So I do peritoneal dialysis, which is different than hemodialysis, which is what I'm assuming he does in this show, which is what a lot of people who are on dialysis do. You sit down in a chair 3 days a week. They stick big needles in your arm and they kind of recycle your blood through a machine. I do peritoneal dialysis where I've got a catheter coming out of my abdomen and I plug into a machine. It fills my abdomen with dialysis solution. It sits there for a little while. And then when I drain it, it looks like urine because it's taking away all the excess fluids and toxins from my bloodstream. So my experience with dialysis is a little bit different than what's the mainstream conception of dialysis. But also, from what I understand, they're starting people out on peritoneal dialysis. It's a lot shorter time. So in order to start dialysis, you need some kind of access. So to do the blood dialysis where they stick needles in your arm, you need to have a surgery that connects a vessel to an artery, and it takes like 3 months to mature, to be big enough so that you can actually use it. Either that, or they need to put an access point directly through your neck, like directly to your heart, and then you plug into that, and that takes a couple weeks to heal up also. Peritoneal dialysis, after you have the surgery, 2 weeks later you can start dialysis. And so usually what they do is they put that into people that need to start dialysis right away. Like if you're not peeing, you need to start dialysis right away. So they would need to put a catheter into his heart so he could start dialysis immediately or he would die. But the fact that he's making such a big deal about getting a living donor kidney, that's not the only way that you can get a kidney. You can get a kidney if somebody dies and you're on the list too. I guess I'm really mad about all the terrible inaccuracies in this show. Like I said, I wasn't offended by it.
Sitcoms are usually pretty accurate though.
Are they?
No.
I was going to say like The Big Bang Theory is definitely very inaccurate in my opinion. Ryan and I know a lot of nerds, and I don't think any nerds act like the people like on The Big Bang Theory. So.
I've never seen it. WTF Big Bang Theory. By the way, everybody,
don't do that one. That's terrible.
If you want us to watch the first episode of a series, say WTF Big Bang Theory or WTF Golden Girls, because that was Estelle Getty that I mentioned that invented the urinal. Estelle Getty is what the Getty Center was named after in Los Angeles. She played Sophia in Golden Girls.
Oh my God. And that was WTF that I suggested many times to you.
Oh, really? Golden Girls?
Golden Girls.
Well,
Yeah, love this.
It gets bumped to the top when a guest suggests it. So that's something.
And then also give us a like, subscribe if you're
you're like, that's it, just a like.
Yes,
Just-
wait a second. Let
yeah.
me do something. Let me
like
encourage
us
the
and
audience.
subscribe to us.
That.
And
So I'll tell you, there were a couple jokes that made me giggle. The one was, well, it didn't really make me giggle, but I just thought it was okay. Was the one where he's like, dude, that was my breakfast about the Coke. Oh, thumbs up. But that could have been a much better joke if it wasn't, a family-friendly show.
yeah.
Like, either do the drug joke and the stoner and the tweaker joke, or don't. And it feels like they're trying to straddle both lines, but not really doing either. But the other joke that was kind of worked was when after he saw the stoner and the Gina, and he leaves, the guy goes, dude, your dad's kind of a dick. Like, okay, that's funny that he thought he was her dad, I guess. I feel like the jokes didn't land a lot of times because they weren't getting character actors. Like the old people in the bus, the jokes didn't land because if the old people weren't very funny, and old people can be pretty funny. Like the line where he says, when first he says, oh, you drive these old people. He's like, hey, I'm not old. I'm 72. And then the other old guy says, if you're 72, I'm 14, right? Okay, fine. Now imagine Seinfeld's dad or George Costanza's dad saying that line, and they would have said, if you're 72, I'm 14, or something like that. And we're laughing because he's like, oh, I'm 4. And I'm like, I don't know if that was acting or directing, but that's a line that can be very funny if it's delivered properly. And I feel like they just relied on, I don't know, on the writing. And they should have just grabbed a bunch of character actors, paid an extra $80 for, or just directed them to, look, if you only have one line, put everything you got into that line and make us laugh. And it would have worked for me if they did.
Yeah, that's a good observation.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. That was a good observation, Ryan. Good job.
Thanks.
You won this episode.
Yeah. But that's what I saw in a lot of things. They just weren't hitting the lines. I mean, there just wasn't a lot of times, a line is funny, but usually in a sitcom, what makes it funny is the delivery, is how people say it. And it's okay to be extreme. It's okay for it not to make sense. Like if the guy yelled that line, I'm 14, right? The reason it's funny is because we're like, what's wrong with this guy? Why are they so mad at each other? God, calm down, Grandpa. But that's whatever. It adds flavor, and they didn't give us any of that.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier about this laugh track. That's when they rely on that. Like, oh, that's okay. Right. We'll add the music here, laugh track there. Audience will not notice or something.
Well, since we're talking about acting also, I'll talk a little bit about Thomas Middleditch. This guy, there he is.
Thomas Little Bitch. I bet you he's been called that before. That's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah. So he was the star of a show on HBO called Silicon Valley, which was actually a very good show. It was funny. It was a single camera, and he was like the main character. And I was surprised at how unfunny he was in this show, because he was hilarious in that show. He was like a software developer and kind of a nervous, what do you call it? I don't want to say Woody Allen type, but kind of like kind of a, what do you call it? Quirky and nervous and that kind of guy. And so yeah, when you saw him on this show, I was like, man, why is he such a terrible actor? And it makes me wonder if maybe the writing or directing was a lot better on Silicon Valley, and obviously terrible on this show. But he was a lot better in Silicon Valley. So stick to Silicon Valley, Thomas.
WTF Silicon Valley, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
if you want us to
well,
watch the first episode of that series,
I'll
say
watch
WTF.
that. It's a good one, yeah. And then the girl was just terrible. Like,
which one?
This girl, Gina.
That's a boy. Mike has troubles with that sometimes.
It's like you point this way, and it's like if on Zoom, it's like you're pointing the opposite way.
Never.
This girl right here, yeah, she was terrible, man. Okay, she's a party girl. I get it, whatever. But like her acting was just terrible. I mean, I did not buy for 1 second anything she was trying to sell me. At least Thomas Middleditch was at least playing it a little bit more a little more realistic. Maybe that's maybe the problem is that he was trying to be a little bit too serious when it needed him to be a little sillier or something. I don't know. I think he was serious on Silicon Valley too, but so maybe I'm just talking out my butthole. But the girl, she was just terrible. Everything she did was terrible, and I hate her. So.
All right, Sasha, you got to defend the actors. What do you think of the actors?
I want to defend the actors. Yes, let me defend them. I always say, do I always say that? I never actually said that. But anyway.
Starting now.
From now on, I will always say that actor, no matter how bad or good you are, as we all know, we don't see ourselves from the audience perspective, from the perspective of the camera. We can only see it in a playback if we're allowed to take a look.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a job of a director to present the actors in the best way, not as actors, but as the characters on the show. So to give them the certain direction, because maybe to me, I'm like not doing it enough. So I'm trying to pump it up a little bit, and then it's over the top. Or I think I'm doing it over the top. Well, in fact, my muscles of my face don't even move or something. So, and here is the director to direct. And the director on sitcoms or all the comedies should be a comedian, should be a person who's been there, done that, and know exactly how to direct such things for the best impact on the audience. So I'm always feel for actors if they're supposed to be funny and they're not, and also, you know, I don't know anything about how, you know, exactly the casting process for the sitcoms goes, and, you know, I mean, I know how it goes, but, you know, for certain shows, like what exactly they are, the principle by which they pick this or that actor, especially when it's the actor that is not like very well known. So they have their reasons for picking certain actors. So I don't know, maybe there is something about it, the character description or something that makes them pick this certain actor, that, and then it doesn't work perfectly.
Well, I just looked it up, and the director of this the pilot episode, James Burrows. And if that's anybody, Cheers, Frasier, Taxi, Will and Grace, he's done some really good.
So why didn't he show up for the pilot of his show?
Why did he what?
Why didn't he show up for the pilot? Like he wasn't there. I guess he just had a PA do it. He's like, you handle it. I'm
just gonna, my name's just on it. You know?
Yeah, I'm rich. I'm fine. Yeah, it does. It did seem like the directing may be at fault a little bit, because all of it seemed uninspired. Like, you know, the
Maybe
writing
he's just getting old or something.
Yeah, I mean, the writing, you know, was okay, but, you know, obviously not great, in my opinion. But the acting, I was actually okay with the blonde lady. I thought, at least in her opening couple scenes, she did fine. I thought she was maybe better than the others. Later on, I don't know. I mean, it's tough material to do convincingly. I thought she was believable as a pill popper. You know what I mean? Like that she was just kind of like, you know, look at this tattoo on my leg. But Sasha, you have the benefit of having seen the second episode and not the first.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think of their acting? What did you think of these two leads and the surrounding characters?
Mm-hmm. So, you know, let's say that in the next episode that you will probably watch very soon, or maybe not, but that episode, it kind of, not that it starts off, but the first group of actors that we're introduced to is his dialysis pals. Mm. And they were really cool. That was really cool to me, like, because, you know, I had a breast cancer last year, and so I had a radiation treatment. And, you see a lot of different characters. And then I had to go to oncologists, and there were a lot of people doing their chemos. And there are characters that you meet and you have a small talk, and it's you got to find something funny about that.
Right.
So funny, the characters, they're always typical, like this category, the sad, like doom and gloom one, and then the class clown, it was me usually, and then someone
We
like
guessed.
yeah, like someone who is like in denial, like I'm not even here, it's not my level of life, I'm not here, it's not me, I'm not doing this, so something like that. And all kinds of, and then somebody who's asking a lot of questions, who wants to be your friend immediately, and somebody who's like, leave me alone, can you just leave me alone? So it's kind of was funny to me to see that. It seemed familiar, and I don't know how you will what will you think about that, Michael, but like I kind of drew some parallels, and it was funny. As for the main characters, I mean, I thought it was fine. He seems like a straight man in this comedy. He seemed to me in this episode. And Gina, probably because it's what I thought was her first episode was her second episode. She's kind of like, I mean, I believe that character. As always in sitcoms, it's a little bit exaggerated, but I mean, that's what you expect. And she seemed pretty funny because, I thought that, again, that I'm watching from the very beginning, although I knew that there was something that was before that. Because I just heard about this show, so I knew that. So I thought that maybe it wasn't the script, and then they left it out and decided to start shooting from the second, like from the next scene or something, set of scenes. But it was, I think that the audience will get used to the characters and will find more funny things about them.
Well, you guys think it's going to get renewed for a second season?
I do like the idea of like a sitcom taking place in like a dialysis treatment center. I do like that idea, and that's probably what sold this show. I mean, obviously Chuck Lorre came up and said, "Hey, I want to do a show," and they're like, "Oh, whatever you want, Chuck. Here's a bunch of money." But also, I'll say that I know that Chuck Lorre has a lot of control over his shows as well. So maybe we can't really put too much of the blame on James Burrows if Chuck Lorre comes in and is like, no, we're not doing that like that way. We're just going to do it this way. Like I know that I've heard that I took a tour of Warner Brothers Studios, and like we actually got to see the set of The Big Bang Theory, and one of the tour guides was saying like,
WTF Big Bang Theory, that's twice Mike's brought up. He really wants to see it.
I hate that show, but I'll watch it for the show. But like he said that Chuck Lorre
I've never seen it, so I'll watch it.
He'll like stop filming for a second, like if people don't laugh in the audience, and he'll like, "Oh, why didn't you laugh at that?" And like he'll rework stuff, but it didn't seem like he did that in this one. I don't know. Maybe he's like just so in love with his idea that he's like, "This is it. America's going to eat it up, whether they like it or not."
Yeah, but there is another thing about that. First of all, I'm trying to think, when did they actually film it? So maybe it was a situation when they filmed it in like the end of August this year after the lockdown. So kind of, America will eat it because it's one of the shows. So probably that could be also the case.
Maybe all the actors were rusty because from inactivity, and
maybe they were phoning it in via Skype. They're just like, they just kind of put them together. You guys think it's going to have a second season?
Well,
if you had to guess.
Yeah.
They might be, but as I understood, because I am personally love the shows where all the shows where there is a problem and then they solve it one episode after, and then there is another problem and then they solve it. I don't like when it's same problem throughout the whole show. So like it seems to me that there will be a problem with this donor. And so what needs to keep us on the edge of our seats is the question whether she will become a donor or not. Like, what is going to happen? Will he get his kidney or not? And because of how she, who she is and how she acts and how she behaves and how much she cares about all of it. And so I am wondering, I hope it will not linger throughout the whole season, but I think that it will. So then in the end of the season, he will probably need to get that kidney. And if he gets it, that's the end of this particular story. So probably that will be it. Because then what? Right? Unless they're like decide to like, I don't know, open a theater with all these people that he met in dialysis room, or like a business together. So we could keep all the characters. But they might drag this problem into the next season. So it will be sort of like, and I'm not comparing, but just like story-wise, like an Orange is the New Black, where the lead character never gets a chance to get out of jail, because otherwise there will be no next season. So she needs to stay. And so
WTF Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
So that's, but I love when problems be, this idea, like, I agree. This idea is unique and it's cool. And it's kind of, again, as Michael, and I know with my treatment, there is a lot of grief and anxiety, around it and about it. So you want to, keep your spirits up as much as you can. And when you see something like that on the screen, that you can say like, well, that's familiar to me. And now kind of you feel like you're not alone in that. And so I think it's important too. And to laugh about it, why not? Life is...
I agree. I mean, I think that you have to laugh about it. That's what I do in my comedy. I try to make fun of kidney disease, and my tagline is making kidney disease funny. So, I mean, that's what I do. That's why I'm a little bit offended that they didn't hire me for this show. But
why not?
No, but there's a lot of people in the kidney community that I've seen that they're like, oh, how dare they make fun of this disease? And like, it's like,
oh, really?
Yeah, you have to make fun of it. If you're not making fun of it, then you're just swallowing in it. And what's the point of doing that?
Plus, it brings it to light. Like, you want to bring it into the public eye. That's how it gets more attention. That's how more people go to the kidneyfoundation.org. We can include that in the description box below. That's how more people become more aware of dialysis and kidney donors and things like that.
Become organ donors, yeah. And so that's one of the biggest things is,
so it's a good thing.
There's so many millions of people that need kidneys. Maybe not millions, but hundreds of thousands of people that need kidneys, but there's not enough there's not enough donors. So please, PSA real quick, if you haven't already, go sign up to be an organ donor. And you might save somebody's life even if you lose yours. So.
Yep.
Well, do you think that they just, rather than making it funny or good, they just figured that they would kind of ride out good favor? Like, hey, we're writing something about kidney disease to bring it to light and this and that. And they're just hoping like, it doesn't have to be good. People are going to watch it and support it and be like, oh, this is very good and very brave.
That's kind of what they did with the show Mom. The show Mom is all about alcoholism. Like they kind of takes place, a lot of it in like AA meetings, and like they go around and saying, oh, I'm an alcoholic, and it's dealing with addiction. So Chuck Lorre, I think, likes to have those kinds of shows dealing with difficult subjects. I think that's maybe what he's trying to bank on, is that, oh, this is a difficult subject sitcom that people are going to love. So I think it will be renewed for a second season just because he's Chuck Lorre, and America's going to eat this up.
That's 2 and 2, right?
2 and 2, yeah.
That's a Chuck Woolery joke. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm going to take that bet. I'm going to say it doesn't get renewed.
Okay.
But let's take a moment, Sasha Kerbel.
Yes.
And talk about you.
Oh, okay.
Deal. I don't know if that's cool. Okay, good. What a relief. So you are an actress. You are also a podcaster. Let's talk very quickly about your acting first. How long have you been acting?
Oof, for a long time. I'm bad at math, but let's just say, like, in short. So I started as an actress at a very young age, maybe at 15 or 14 or something. And I was in Russia, which, and I lived in Moscow, Russia, and which is a little bit far away. And at that time in Russia, you could not, it was difficult to be a child actor. Sometimes they would find children for films, But then children would go back to their normal life and would never look back. So it was just like one-time gig, and all of a sudden they're in a lead part or something, and then they go completely different direction. So it wasn't the thing. So it was very difficult. And also we didn't have classes. We just had colleges. So unless you're in college and studying acting, you cannot learn this profession. So it was a little bit difficult, but I used to have a private classes with a very famous theater director, and he taught me a lot of things. And so I tried to move in this direction, but then I got distracted, very big. It was time to go to college, and I passed all the competitions. There are a lot of creative competitions and a lot of tests. So I passed almost all of that except for one last one. And then I didn't pass that one. So I was almost there and I wasn't. So I decided not to lose 1 year. And I went to a school of television, and I was accepted right away. And I got invited to the television because I was like an A student. I got invited to the television, and I was 17 years old at the time. And I started working in the news, and then I became known for that. And then I was given my own show, and then, but it seemed really boring to me because it was like a real adult job, and I wanted to be an actress, and I wanted to be young. And so I switched, and I went to
I wanted to be young.
I wanted to be young. I didn't want to talk about politics, all these problems. It was too serious. And the last thing that broke the camel's back was when they sent me to the courthouse to report, make a big material about the divorce. And I didn't even know what the boyfriends look like. I didn't know anything about anything. And they sent me there, and it was so disgusting. There was a husband and wife, and they were fighting and accusing each other in something. And she was attacking the cameras, tell him or something. So I said, okay, guys, can you go on without me? So I burst into tears. I went back to my boss and I said, I am resigning. I can't. I just realized that I can't do it anymore. So I went on to work on the music radio, and I became a DJ and a host of lots of shows. And then from there, I was also invited to the music television to host talk shows and to host other shows and whatever. And so I got really distracted, and I made the whole career. So I was famous and everything. And then I was but I want to be an actress. But again, the problem in Russia was that everybody was okay, you're a host. You're not an actress. You cannot act. I was try me. And maybe I couldn't act at the time, but I said, try me. And they didn't want to, because they said, but we know that you can because you're a host. So so I had to quit all of that. I changed my name, and I went back into college and went to, became a professional actress with a diploma summa cum laude. And I was accepted in theater. And it was, I won't tell you the year because then everybody will figure out how old I am. Let's
what
pretend
year
I'm
was it?
24. Yeah, it was 2018.
Okay, perfect.
So decades later. So then I worked in theater and blah, blah, blah. And then on TV in Russia. But then I wanted to go international. So I started searching for international castings. And that's how I came across independent film, where I got the supporting part and was invited to film here in the United States. And so I came here, and then we did this movie, and the producer said, we have a lot of future projects and we really want you to stay. And then I stayed here with my kid, and I came here a little bit more than 5 years ago. And so ever since I've been here in LA. Needless to say that most of the projects that were mentioned back then by those producers.
Of course. that was your first taste of LA life, is everything that it's about 10% of the things that are mentioned to you actually come to fruition. But here's the big question is, what's your ideal role as an actor? Whether it's just something you've always wanted to do, or whether it's something that you've never been able to portray, like maybe they always cast you as the wacky neighbor or the love interest and you've always wanted to be the killer, or if you always wanted to be an elf in Lord of the Rings. join the club.
Absolutely do. That's actually my dream role. And I love fantasy. I love sci-fi, and I love like anything that like Game of Thrones. That's sort of the show where I would fit, as I think, in a lot of parts. And I would love to play a lot of roles there. And I love sci-fi. I would love to be, because I really like it. That was the actually, you know, it has a special meaning to me. But anyway, on Star Trek, I would love to be on Star Trek. So Rico E. Anderson, when you're on Star Trek again, drag me in.
Rico's not going to be on Star Trek again. What were you saying? No, I'm just kidding.
Ryan has blacklisted him.
Now, speaking of Rico E. Anderson, let's get to the meat of this interview. You have a brand new podcast with Rico and with one other person. I don't remember her name offhand. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Yes. So this is the show called The Lightning Hour, and we're doing it with Rico E. Anderson and Rochelle Henry. All of us are actors. And so it was like when the quarantine just started. I mean, we were talking together and separately about like, we need to do something like a podcast or something. And Rico and I were talking about that separately, and Rochelle and Rico were talking about that separately. And then like all three of us were talking about that. And then the quarantine happened. And then Rochelle basically contacted us and she said, guys, why not now? We're in the
Gotta do it now.
So yeah, we have
if
nothing.
Not now, when? Yeah.
And so we decided to do that. And we just wanted to, you know, to have fun, to basically like, what do you call it? To stretch our hosting muscles and to invite people from the entertainment industry that we know and that we like and that could be, of course, interesting to our audience. So now we're finishing season 2. And it's very exciting. Guys, you will see in the description box the YouTube channel. So please subscribe, please give us a like, and please watch our shows. And
leave comments.
Yes, leave comments. So that's another project. And of course, you know, I'm first of all, I'm an actress, so I always love and prefer acting over anything else. Although, you know, with this show, there is like a double joy. First of all, that just to do that. And second of all, is that the three of us are working together, and it's always fun. We're hanging out together, and we're working together. So that's really cool. And but also, as an actress, I have some plans and a lot of ambitions, and those roles that you mentioned that I would like to play. You know, I wanted to say that I normally in theater in Russia, you know, I've been cast as a villain a lot, and I've been cast as a queen. I constantly played like royalties and villains, and I'm so okay with that. I love it so much. So here, you know, what I'm thinking is that sometimes now it's a good time for it, because before people look at you and they say, okay, you have this accent. So either completely get rid of the accent and blend in, which is, I mean, my accent is kind of a part of me, so I can get rid of it, and part of me doesn't want to get rid of it. So, I mean, you can turn it on and off, but still. And they say, well, you will be doomed to play the Russian roles. So only if there is a Russian in the movie, then you can audition for that. But if there is no Russian roles, like how can you play just someone? And nowadays it's different. You can play whoever you want, right? And the people do not assume anymore and put you in certain boxes. So, you know, anything that has this exotic flavor. And for instance, Ryan, Michael,
yes.
Probably you too, right? You guys, you're sci-fi professionals. So just tell me, I would be a perfect alien, right? For sci-fi, I would be perfect with my accent. I didn't.
You'd
right?
play a mean Morn, let me tell you.
I don't know what the heck is that, but I'm in.
That's a Star Trek joke.
Yeah.
Oh, tell me. I'm so bad at Star Trek.
He's a Lurian, obviously, and he frequents Quark's bar.
Yeah.
Played by Mark Allen Shepard.
Two stomachs. Yeah.
And before we saw you today, Michael saw a Morn meme that was he said it was funny. It didn't sound funny, but I guess one of those had to be there things.
You have to see it.
But final question before we move on is about the lightning hour.
Yes.
Was there something that you didn't expect about doing a podcast that kind of hit you? Was it you didn't realize how much fun it would be? Didn't realize how much work it would be? Was there a pleasant surprise, or was there a difficulty that you had to overcome?
Right.
Besides Rico?
Now the biggest difficulty for us right now, as we are coming to season 3, is our schedules, because some things start reopening, and all 3 of us, and we have guests also. So before, we were just, basically all available. And even most of the guests were available. But now everybody's get busy. So the hardest part right now is to find those days when none of us is busy. So that's the challenging part. But what I didn't expect, it's fun, but it's a commitment. So sometimes it's a reminder, because, like acting job is sort of like a freelance, right? You are busy, and then you have a vacation for 2 months, and then you're busy. And so with this, we have a commitment. Every week we have to go and interview someone, and then we pre-record it, but so it makes it easier, but it's a commitment. So my respect to everyone who's doing podcasts grew dramatically, because it's not a joke. It's not just like I want to do it and then I don't want to do it. You already have responsibility, because there is an audience. It might be very big or it might be very small, but they are still your audience, and they expect you to deliver. So you cannot disappoint your audience.
Right. Definitely not a joke. If it were a joke, Be Positive should have added it to their show, because they could use one. They could use a joke. Well, let's move forward in this podcast. Speaking of podcasts, and really put this one to bed and give it the attention it deserves for this quality show. We're gonna close it out with something we like to call the terrible twos. Well, it's the bottom line, but Michael calls it the terrible twos, so I like to say that to be inclusive of his.
I think
feelings.
we should just call this part of the show the part where Ryan and Mike bicker for 5 minutes.
Look how I just like watching the guest when we say this, because they always go like, "Oh, it's getting intense in here. Is this,
what's happening?
Is this a bit, or
am I being pranked or something?"
Anyway, the point is, it's the 2 final questions of the show, and it's the 2 most important. Number 1, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate Be Positive? The pilot episode, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg.
Can I give it a 2? Yeah, 2. I give it a 2. Ryan, stop being distracted by your stray cat friend.
I muted myself. It's okay.
2.
Anyway.
2.
That's okay. Is that the lowest score you've ever given?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
This is the lowest score that I've ever given anything ever in my life.
Wow. You're angry. Sasha, what would you give the second episode, the first episode that you've seen of Be Positive, scale of 1 to 10?
Okay, I'm going to be positive.
Nice.
And I give it a solid 5.
Okay.
I think it's a good grade.
I'm going to give it a 4. And I'll tell you why. Was it funny? No. Isn't that what a sitcom or a comedy is supposed to be? Isn't that really the only prerequisite? Yes. Yeah. But hear me out.
Well, it's also supposed to be a situation.
Right. It's kind of a situation, but hear me out. Like I said before, I didn't dislike any of the characters. I didn't necessarily like them, but none of them really annoyed me or bothered me. It was quick. It was short. All the characters were fine. The acting wasn't stellar, but nothing really like grated, against me really hard. So it gets points for not annoying me, an easily annoyed person. I get annoyed very quickly and very often with TV shows. And this one didn't really annoy me. I was just like, okay, well, it was likable. it was fine to have on in the background when you're gardening or something, but it's not quite a 5, so I'm giving her a 4. Now, this is it. This is really the only important question. For the purposes of this podcast, we had to watch an episode of Be Positive. Now that the podcast is over, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, would you watch the second episode of your own volition?
So even though I gave this a 2, I kind of let slip earlier that I would watch the second episode, just because, number one, I want to be able to hate on it more. But number 2 is I am kind of interested to see the situation of being in a dialysis treatment center doing hemodialysis. Right. And I want to kind of see what kind of terrible, wrong things that they do to give him some kind of dialysis access immediately, which is totally false and doesn't work, I'm guessing. But yeah, probably, if anything, just to hate on it some more, but also because I'm slightly interested in seeing a sitcom inside of a hemodialysis treatment center. I have been inside of a hemodialysis treatment center. I did an interview of a young lady who also has a YouTube show, and so like she invited me to go into the dialysis treatment center with her while she was getting her dialysis to conduct the interview. So I have some knowledge of what I've never been on hemodialysis. Like I said, I've only done the peritoneal dialysis. But I am a little bit interested to see what that dynamic is going to be like. Sasha,
well, that's good.
Now, would you watch the first episode?
Right. Just whatever would you watch another episode of this?
Yeah, I would definitely watch the previous episode, especially now that I've heard so much about it. Now, I will watch it tonight, definitely. Yeah, I want to give it, but and after I watch this, I would probably give the show, well, I mean, I liked it, so I will definitely give it a try. And again, I'm wondering where will it go, as they go. And I hope that all the Ryan suggestions will be considered.
Right.
Listen up, Chuck Lorre. We've got some changes that we want to make.
Exactly.
It's too late. It's already out.
Yeah, I got to tell something to the people and Be Positive. So, guys, one missed opportunity, the giant missed opportunity, 2 actually. 1, Michael should be your consultant. And second, Ryan should be your head writer.
Nice.
There you go. And then you will go into the season 2. And I can do comedy too.
You can make the drug jokes for them. You could be like, hey, I was going to have that doobie for breakfast.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We like it. All right. That sounds good. Now, hopefully it will get renewed for a season 2 and we can get these changes and get this train back on its tracks.
Yeah.
I will answer the question myself as well about the second episode.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to say no because it didn't really give me any reason to want to watch the second. I guess simply speaking, didn't give me any reason to. The only reason I would watch the second episode is to support the show. But as for my own enjoyment, I wouldn't turn it off angrily. I wouldn't avoid it angrily. But I certainly wouldn't go out of my way to watch it of my own volition because it's just not very good. But I liked it, as in I liked how easy it was to watch and how pleasant it was. And it was fine. It was fun. It was easy. It was simple. So I'm rooting for it, but it's for somebody else.
They got some work to do. Yeah.
Anyway, what else do we have, Mike? Is this the end? Is this when we,
Yeah, this is the end.
Farewell.
Let's say farewell for now.
Great. So if you guys want us to review a show, please be sure to say WTF and the show that you want us to review in the comments section below, not only in the live chat, but in the comments section so it stays forever and we can see it. And I think that's about it. Give us a like and
give us a like.
Yeah. Subscribe. Hit
Give
the
us
bell
a
icon.
Subscribe. Unless you've already subscribed, then don't unsubscribe.
And as we always say on our podcast, and don't
forget to like the first.
Yeah, to like, to subscribe, and to hit that bell button. So whatever. So you would find out whenever we post. The guys post a new show.
You nailed it.
Yeah,
we got to get you. We got to get you and Josh Sussman together because you guys do a great job of selling it for us. Yeah. Anyway, thank you all very much. Thank you very much to Sasha Kerbel for joining us and for being such a pleasant light in this hour of darkness. And we'll see you all very soon. And don't forget what Michael Kenyon Rosenberg likes to say.
Don't forget to watch the first of things.
Sasha's like, I thought it was going to be something wise or funny.
No, sorry.
Anyway.
Where is the laugh track?